So very quickly, we covered these topics. I don't want to go over them. I'm just refreshing your mind what we have covered with them. The presentation was recorded. You can go back to it. We talked about marriage and love. We talked about children. We talked about eating and drinking. And we talked about work. I think we finished there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was the last slide we covered. Okay, so now we want to go and attempt to cover some more. And this is where I am only interpreting the writing of Kahlil Gibran. I have no authority on it more than you. So some of you have read the book. Some of you may have been encouraged to read it, and you will go and read it. It's only 100 pages long, thereabout, translated to over 100 languages. Really worth a read. I'm amazed that one person could condense so much wisdom in 100 pages. So let's see. So here we are, session 2, on joy and sorrow. Now, who amongst you didn't experience joy, both joy and sorrow? I'd be surprised, unless you're living in isolation in a cave, you would have enjoyed those. Even in a cave, I guess you might have your share of joy and sorrow. Now, what does he mean? They are inseparable guests. While, let's say, joy is downstairs in the living room, sorrow is upstairs in the bedroom. What does that mean? They're inseparable. And the moment you have sorrow, means the guest came down to the living room and joy is gone. But joy actually hasn't gone. It's gone upstairs to the bedroom. This is a bit of a paradox. And he says they are inseparable guests. You can't really have one without the other. Anybody can say a word on this? It's a lot more fun when we talk, or you sit and wait. Let's see what Fayez says. I read it just like you. Jump in, don't reflect, and is this wise, it's this, whatever comes to your mind is good enough. No? Okay, so let's see whatever gave you joy. Let's say, let me take a really bad example, maybe just not a pleasant example. You have a child that gives you a lot of joy. Isn't that the same thing that if you were either to lose or that child goes really ill, isn't that what also gives you sorrow? You can't have sorrow for something you didn't care about. And you can't have joy. I mean, I'm thinking, I just say for a parents or a woman delivering a child, isn't it the joy that happens after the delivery also linked to the sorrow, the pain, etc., that was carrying the child, delivering the child, the pain of all of that experience? The moment it's over, sorrow is over, but joy jumps in. They're not ever separated. So that's really what he's saying. That so if you want a life full of joy, you're fooling yourself. It doesn't happen that way. The world life is structured that they are together. So don't get upset when one goes, one comes back. It's always one of them is in the wing. It will show up. Okay. Then he says something really profound. The deeper the sorrow, the greater the joy. So here I'm showing, let's say, a flute. I don't know whether that is a flute or whatever it's called. Think of it as a metaphor. How when you hear the flute, it gives you joy. His sound is beautiful, soft, and you usually think of a shepherd playing his flute on top of a mountain or something like that. But that joy came from what? From a piece of wood that got engraved, carved out to produce that sound. So something suffered in this case, the carving out, to produce the beauty that is sound. And that is with all of us. And you can tell, I guarantee you, a person who has had sorrow in their life, they suffered, something happened to them, painful, etc. They are far more capable of joy. In the same way, I'm showing here a vessel that has been made of glass. Glass has to go into the furnace, has to melt to be produced. Imagine that is, equate that to sorrow, the pain of being molded. But it's only through being molded that now the glass has value, because now it has this space to put flowers, to put water, etc. The two are together. The suffering creates the space, create the ability, the capacity to deliver. And then something very interesting happens. If you don't want either sorrow or joy, say, I don't want all of this complication in my life. I want my scale balanced. No joy, no sorrow. The only time the scale balance is there's no sorrow on the right side or no joy on the left side. That's when the balance is maintained. But when a scale is balanced, what can you say about it? There's no up, no down. It's exactly balanced. What is wrong with this scale when it is balanced like this?
Empty.
Empty. Who said that?
Satish.
Absolutely. If you want an empty life, you should be looking for a balanced scale. If you want a life full of experience and excitement and joy and sorrow and so on, that is living. If you don't want to do living, you're in the wrong place on earth. If you want to do living, that scale will be up and down and up and down. And hopefully, because you realize the two guests are inseparable, that up and down, there's nothing wrong with it. That is called life. Don't seek balance. You want to seek a full life. Let's go to the next one. Houses. Okay. In his time, he's talking about houses. We live in often in flats, in multi-story buildings. What does he say about houses? A house is your larger body. So we are housed in our body, kind of, if whatever your conception of who you are, but you're also, you and your body are housed in your larger body, the house. So the house can be many things to you. Let's see what a house can be to you. Do you want your house to be a mast or an anchor? A house to be a mast or an anchor? Let's say, I give you an example. You have made some money, and you've accumulated some wealth, and you decide you're going to have a house, let's say back home in India. And you go and build a house, and you add to it a few touches, etc. Becomes a nice house. Now, every time you have a holiday, where do you go? You think, well, I've put so much time and effort and money in this house, I better go to the damn house. I found this happening to me when I got a house in England. Every holiday in the summer, we go to York in England. And I think the world is such a big place, but I put so much effort and time in this house, but you have to justify it to yourself. So you go there. Now, is that house a mast or an anchor? See, a mast allows you to travel the world as a ship would. An anchor keeps bringing you and holding you down. Whether that house can be even in UAE, depending how you deal with it, it could be your anchor in the UAE, you don't go anywhere, or you limit your travel, or it's your base for exploration. So that's what he's saying there. This I actually didn't realize until very late in life. Comfort, we all seek comfort. Every one of you got all these home comfort. Could be the remote control, this special fridge, this special cooker, the special everything else, remote controls. And he says comfort arrives as a guest. Initially, it's a great thing to explore, nice. I like to have these things. Then, slowly, becomes a host, then a master. How does that happen? How does a guest slowly becomes a host, then a master? Somebody? On my screen, I see Irfan. Irfan, you want to say something about that?
Yes, Faz.
And if
So
you can
basically,
not talk language, tell me in your house and what have you got that started off as, oh, this is a nice tool, then slowly becomes an important tool like a host is, and then start to rule your life. I'm not assuming it has happened to you, but that's what I'm looking for examples.
dependency. I bought a Whoop band, Faz. I think 8 months back. Whoop band is basically a health band. So initially, when I bought it just to monitor my health and see how it is going. But as I keep using it, it started mastering me. It's starting, regulating my activities. What should I do at this time? What should I do at that time? How should I maintain my, VO2 max? How should I maintain my, overall heart rate variability, etc. So I think this is controlling me now in the way what I do on day-to-day basis. Initially, the way I bought it was to just see how my health is, but now I'm trying to follow it continuously to improve my health. So this is one thing which I feel no, it has mastered me from what I have initially intended to be.
Yeah, very good examples. I felt for the same trap. I got an Apple Watch, and initially it was a cute thing. It was, I'm enjoying all the things it measures. Now I wake up and I've had a restful sleep. I look at the watch and it's rated me as okay. Some nights it is high, low, but okay. And it shows how many times I've been up and so on. And I think, what a lousy night's sleep I've had. And yet, physically, I'm okay. But the watch says I'm not okay. So I kind of suffer as a result of the watch. My wife says I'm not wearing it anymore. She took it off. I think that was wiser than keeping it on. But I'm person who loves to measure everything, so maybe it takes me a lot longer to get rid of it. So you have to choose, is it you want your freedom or you want your comfort? And that's really vital in the scheme of things. Get away from anything that anchors you. I think you will have a much more fulfilling life. Now, this is a bit of a radical subject on clothes. And I must admit, when I first read it, I thought, oh, this is heavy. Should I be talking about it to the team, or should I just choose some topics but not every topic? So let's see, what does he say about that? He says clothes both conceal and reveal. So maybe, Giant, what do you want to say about that? It brought a smile to your face. Let's see.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, everybody. Good to catch up on this presentation. Straight away, clothes are actually meant for very basic purpose of giving us kind of a covering and moving the society. But when you go a little bit more into the clothes and the kind of clothes, the kind of investment, the kind of money you spend, in my case, it's a very bad thing. I'm just cutting down on it. I have so many clothes which I don't even remember I purchased them. So it's an absolute waste of time. It's an absolute waste of investment. And people think that I'm a very rich person, keep buying clothes all the time. So it's just the addiction. So probably the addiction with the necessity is being compared over here. Back to you, sir.
Okay. So let's see, what could it be concealing, could it be revealing? So you might be concealing the fact that you are actually not as wealthy as you are pretending to be by wearing, fancy suit and tie and so on. And let's face it, in the sales profession, we try and project that image. You might be struggling and not making your target and actually barely got enough income to put food on the table, but it conceals, but it also it can reveal to you just how shallow, a life you could be leading. A banker never ever shows up in my office without a suit and a tie, because they're trying to really show that they are serious, they're reliable, etc. It does something else also, and we have clothes can be sort of balance between the freedom and that we feel in those clothes, but also the privacy we're trying to have. And here it took me a while to grasp this one. So you want to wear nice, comfortable clothes, maybe light cotton, etc. But especially for women, you're trying to wear clothes that are give you the privacy without it being too constricting. And frankly, it's not easy for a woman, especially if you want to have to put a veil and all these things. It is really a burden. And he says something, uh, modesty is a shield from the unclean. Modesty is a shield from the unclean. If you think, why are we forced, especially the women amongst us, why are we forced into modesty? And we think it's a good thing in society, and it's only because you are trying to get a shield from those who would look on you in, if you like, an unclean way. Looks with either they shame the body, or they lust for the body, or they judge the body. So you put on something to shield yourself from that. If you lived in a society where we didn't have all these hang-ups, we didn't have all these aberrations, you don't need all this. You don't need to conceal. And actually, when you go to, I don't know, tribes, let's say they find the tribes in different remote areas, let's say in the Amazon, etc., they don't wear clothes. They don't have this issue of having to shield from others. We come to our advanced society, you don't know who you're going to meet in the street. Will they judge you? Will they think of you as this or that? And I have seen a lot of people, even not very religious, just cover up because they don't want the attention. And what is the attention but the attention of the unclean? Okay, I'm going to cover this one, and then I think we have to call it off. It's 35 past the hour. So let's talk about giving. It's a very interesting subject. Most of the time, we give because we want recognition. It's an ego trip. And I've seen an ugly side of it when I think I was in Delhi in India one time. And this Lexus came, nice, brand new, fancy Lexus. And the guy just opened the windows and he threw money out of the windows. And people were on their hands and knees collecting the money, etc. And I thought, what a vulgar thing to do. He felt big. They were on their hands and knees. And he got the recognition, him and his car, a number plate, etc. This is a generous man. I thought this is not generosity. This is really a vile way of being, if you like, giving. But this is an extreme case. However, we see so many versions of this that try to pretend to be, if you like, anonymous. You're giving without anybody realizing, but actually so many hints that it was me who gave, okay? Because you want that recognition. And that's not what life does. Let's see. Giving monies, check, sending something, food, even giving here that happens in Ramadan. You know, these, I see queues outside some of the houses, or palaces, etc. That's a form of giving, but you can examine and say, did the giver give anything of themselves? Or I just put a bit of money, the cooks prepare the food, and they put it, and people queue outside to get their dish full. That is not giving of yourself. Anybody can give me an example of how would you give of yourself?
Giving help or doing any physical help for them.
So
Support
you were yourself giving help by participating yourself. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Sacrifice also, Fayez.
Say that again.
Sacrifice. When you sacrifice for somebody else, you do things in your, it's not in your willing, but you have to sacrifice for others. This is what you're giving in yourself.
Yeah. So if you can give it always, whatever you tell me in an example, like for instance, you sacrifice your time. Let's say somebody is ill and you're willing to stay with them all night in case they need any help. You're giving up your time. Far more important than sending a check for 1,000 dirham or sending some minder or somebody carer to spend there. It purifies the soul when you give of yourself, not give things, and that's very few people willing to do it. I must admit, I find it hard. I think if you want to give, for instance, to poor people in Africa or other part of Asia, etc., maybe if you go and participate yourself would be much more effective. I've never found it easy for me to go physically and do it. But if you can do it, I think it feels much, much more powerful than when you just send money or send any other form of help. So there are many types of giving. When you give with pain, with joy, you are aware of the pain of giving because it took your time or it made it hard on you, or you gave it with pleasure, then those are conscious effort. But there is another level of giving. This is a really good giving, but there is authentic giving, which is like the flower. Now, when the flower in a field give a scent or a beautiful color, okay, it is not conditional on anything. It's available for everybody to enjoy, and it's authentic. It's natural. So I use the example here of an apple tree. Does the apple tree ever put a condition that no, only such and such people can have my apples? If you find an apple in the wild, you help yourself, the apple joys or celebrate any creature taking its fruit, because that's also growth for the apple tree and the spread of the apple seeds. So that's a natural giving without judging. Sometimes we want people to bear their, if you like, need to us before we're willing to give them. You have to prove to me that you are needy. But in nature, nobody needs to prove anything. Giving is natural and anybody can partake. But we humans put terms and conditions, and people have to bear their weakness to you before you give. And that's what he's saying there. Give as nature would give, without thinking that you are the giver. Actually, the giver is life. And life is coming through you to give other life. You are not really, you're only a vessel or a vehicle for the giving. It's not your giving. You were born with nothing, you will die with nothing, but in between, you could be a vehicle of giving, and that would be a much, much higher level of giving. This is a bit of a dark subject, maybe the good dark background, but we will stop on that and maybe cover it in another session. There's a few more sessions, but if I'm going to do more of those, you participated, I would say 6 out of 10 this time. I'd like to get to 9 out of 10 if we can do next time. I really appreciate all the help I can get. Let me go to rate and comment. I hope you found some of this useful, and rate please, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.